Hey everyone, how's it going? I hope you're all doing great and that you're following the 3H's of the channel. In this video, I have a bunch of encounters that are really bizarre, strange, and scary. These stories are from Russia to Arizona and everywhere in between, and a lot of times leave more questions than answers. So if that sounds like something you're interested in, pull up a stump with me and let's get into it. Thank you for watching. So for me, this is the scariest thing, the most strange thing, and any other word that you can think of to describe it. I'm not great at telling stories, but this is really short and still doesn't make any sense to me. I was 11 at the time. It was Thanksgiving night. I was outside on the back porch. I live in Arizona. I was watching the stars and stuff while my family was doing the American Thanksgiving tradition of having a huge argument. I walk off the porch and down the stairs and out into the backyard, trying to just enjoy the stars without having to hear my family argue about dumb stuff. So I just sit down in the grass and I'm admiring the stars, and suddenly the entire sky lights up, like bright white, some real biblical stuff. The white light is touching literally everything for about 2 seconds. The light then fades. Everything goes back to normal. I can vaguely remember hearing car alarms going off all over the place. I really then come to as I'm being dragged inside. My nose is bleeding and my mouth is dry. He says, "WTF happened? Why were you outside?" I tell them that I went outside because they were arguing, and then I tell them about the light and how I don't remember what happened. No one else in the house saw it, and no one else believed me, but I remember hearing car alarms and everything going off. I thought it was a shooting star for like 3 years, but even now, I don't really have an explanation for it. What the hell happened to me? So this is by far the only thing that's happened to me that's worth telling a weird story about, and I swear it's real. Both me and my wife still remember and talk about it. This was back when I was maybe 26, so I'm kinda dating myself, it's been a long time. I was living with my now wife, then girlfriend, in an apartment near a beach town. Technically the beach was on an island, and you had to cross a bridge to get to it. The bridge goes kind of high up, so boats can cross under it. When you go over the bridge, you can see out really far. It's super pretty, and it was also one of the first places I took her when we first met. It's also important for the story. Across from our apartment is a small airfield or airport type thing. Not a big international airport, but one of those smaller ones that people use generally for private planes. I'm not a plane guy, so I don't know, but you get the idea. Anyways, on weekends, me and my girlfriend would drive over the bridge to go to our favorite bar and restaurant. One night, we're driving back. It's a little rainy, kind of misty. We're both just kind of looking out the windows and not really talking, just waiting to get home. It's a relatively small town, so we're the only ones out on the road at this time. As we come to the top of the bridge, I notice that out in front of us, about where the airfield is, are lights. Not just any lights. I'm talking like a fully lit up football stadium. It looked like the Patriot Stadium had been transported right across from our apartment. I had never seen that in this area before. My girlfriend notices it too. I can't remember who spoke first, but we were both like, "What the hell is that?" and began to point. All the lights are whizzing around and going at crazy angles, and then suddenly, they disappear all at once. Like, immediately. No 30-second dimming or different parts turning off. Just darkness, all at once. Me and my girlfriend were super bewildered. There's no way that the lights were just helicopters or planes or whatever. They wouldn't have been flying so close to one another. And there was no building that size in the area at that time. Whatever it was, it saw us coming and turned everything off. Back when I was 13 or 14, I got sent to a summer camp with my cousin who was a year older. This was back in Russia, where summer camps tend to be a lot more hands-on than some other countries. One of the main activities in this camp was being dropped off in the middle of nowhere for 48 hours with nothing but a liter of water, 3 matches, 100 grams of dry macaroni, and a plastic tarp. Basically, you're expected to build your own small shelter and fend for yourself for 2 days, at which point they come and pick you up. The drop-off point for me and my cousin is right on the edge of this lake that butts up against a marshy area. There's some very thick woods around the other side as well. The closest human being to us is maybe 25 to 30 miles away, and even then, it's likely somebody else who's doing the same challenge as we are. The first day goes quite well, actually. We gather lots of berries and mushrooms. We get a fire going. We set up a little tent with a plastic tarp. When nighttime comes around, we're just sitting around tending to the fire and shooting the shit. Now, before I go on to the actual spooky part of this story, let me explain a little bit of background first. We were basically sitting on a log next to the fire facing the shore. This was about 60 or 70 feet away, through a bunch of trees and branches and whatnot. The part of the shore that we were closest to was a marsh that was about 5 to 6 feet deep and covered in weeds. Anyways, so we see a flash of light that looks eerily similar to a flashlight in the distance. It looks like it's coming out of the water and onto the shore. I turn to my cousin to say something, and he's frozen, staring in the direction of the light as well. The light starts bobbing in our direction at a steady rate, exactly as if somebody was walking toward us, with it pointed slightly toward the ground. I yell out, "Who's there?" in the direction of the light. It freezes, and then turns off 30 to 40 feet away from us. We sit there, scared shitless in silence, for what seems like forever, listening as hard as we can for anything. For some reason, the forest becomes completely quiet. No summer sounds of bugs or birds or anything anymore. We decide that we're definitely not sleeping that night. We spend the next few hours pacing around in circles around the fire, trying to look out into the darkness. The forest is still completely silent. Nature sounds are coming back very slowly, but steadily, as day breaks. We don't sleep for the rest of the trip until we get picked up. The thing that got me the most, though, was that there was no way someone could have made it through that part of the woods with a flashlight. The water around that shoreline had too many reeds and weeds to swim, walk, or even boat through. The shore itself was covered in a bunch of super thick bushes, logs, branches, and other assorted shit that made walking through it pretty much impossible. We had scouted out the area when we first landed, and we even looked at it again the next morning. The vegetation there was so thick that even we couldn't really get up close to the area we saw the flashlight walking in. The only way someone could have made it through there or out again was noisily, clumsily, and they'd have a very hard time, and not without leaving some sort of evidence. Does anyone else have any theories as to what it may have been that we saw? So this was many, many years ago. My friends and I were under the legal drinking age. I live in a rural area, so the solution to the youth dilemma was always to throw a party outside, likely somewhere secluded. My friends and I decided to throw a party one night in this wooded area on a hill. There is this one gravel road that goes up to a radio tower and several areas where the trees thin out, and there is enough of a clearing to start a fire and have maybe 20 to 30 people comfortably drinking without being in the woods, but it's secluded enough to not be visible from the road, and the gravel road is long enough going up the hill to have everyone park and not be visible from the road. In short, it's a place that you'd have to specifically check to know that there's a party. So myself and 3 friends arrived first to collect wood, start the fire, tap the keg, etc. We drove 2 cars and parked. 2 of my friends were going to go get the keg out of the car and set it up while my buddy Phil and I collected firewood and started the fire. Phil and I were walking further up the hill where the woods got denser and there was some dead, dried wood that would work best. As we scrounged for firewood, we began to feel like we were being watched. I'm not really 100% sure about Phil, but I know for sure that I was. It was getting very dark at this point, and our eyes were getting pretty well adjusted to the darkness, but you still had to really focus to see far. Because of the uncomfortable feeling of being watched, I froze, and I started looking around and listening for any noises. I noticed that Phil had done the same. And that is when I noticed it. About 15 to 20 feet in front of us was a creature on all fours. The best I can describe it is that it looked like a wolf, but about 9 feet long, and had some kind of glowing eyes. Its shoulders must have been 3 feet wide, and it was very thickly built. I was gone. Fight or flight kicked in, and it was all flight. I dropped the wood in my hands and ran down the hill as fast as I've ever ran, with no thought of Phil at all. I ran right past the 2 friends in the keg. I got in my car and just left as fast as I could. As I was starting my car, I saw Phil and the other 2 getting in the other car and doing the same. I went home that night, and Phil and I never really talked about it again. I say never, but that should probably be in quotes, because one night about a decade later, we were sitting together in a bar, and I turned to him and said, "So that night by the radio tower?" And he said, "Yep." I continued, "That happened, right?" He answered again with a short, "Yep," uncomfortably making it clear that this was the end of the conversation. In a life well lived and a list of scary shit, this is the scariest moment. Nothing else even seems to come close. I don't even really know what it was that we saw out there. It was honestly so bizarre to us because we've been up there 1,000 times before and 1,000 times since. Despite there being a break after this experience, nothing like this happened again. So bizarre. So I have a story that happened over a decade ago. My buddy's mom gets a new house because she left his shit stepdad and she needed a new place to finish raising the kids. I went over to this new house to chill with my bro's younger brother because he's pretty chill too. So it's me, Jim Bob, and Brandon. All of us head to the back of the property to have a smoke. Now the property was off a main road in town and it bordered some forestry plains area that ended up connecting to the local park a mile or 2 away. The shed was right up against the tree line. The back was just opening up into nothing. So we smoked that shit pretty hard, and we finished the 2-gram blunt, feeling gone as hell. I want to go explore the woods, 'cause nature and shit. So did Jim Bob and Brandon. They agree to come with me. Brandon tells us all to chill a bit, and also to wait for him to go get a jacket. Jim Bob starts walking into the trees, just looking at random stuff, while I light up a regular cigarette. A few minutes go by. I flick out my cig and I see Brandon walking back up to us. I say something along the lines of, "Come on, let's go. Took you long enough, didn't it?" So we all start walking into the forest, making stupid jokes and memes the whole way. We get to some kind of clearing. I think it was a bunch of deer beds. I light up another cigarette because I was a super edgy teenager who thought smoking was super cool. So Jim Bob walks off to the side of the clearing to take a piss, and his brother walks out of the clearing into the trees. He's a quiet kid, so I don't worry. I just smoke my cigarette pretending I'm super cool, and I wait for Jim Bob. Once he's done, we all walk off in the other direction that Brandon went. A good 5 minutes go by. At this point, it's been about a total of 20 minutes being in the woods. And as we're walking, we're thinking, did he really get this far? We keep walking and realize that we can't find him. He's not responding to our yells either, so Jim Bob decides to double back in case we missed him. I keep walking forward until I hit another deer bed, and I see Brandon standing on the other side facing away from me, looking like he's trying really hard to use the zipper on his hoodie. His arms were jerking, trying to pull it super hard. I say, "Hey bud, come on, your brother turned around looking for you." There's no response. I say, "Buddy, what's up?" Again, no response. "Brandon." Immediately, he stops moving. His arms reach at such a weird angle that I couldn't describe it. I instantly get the chills, which stops me from taking another drag off my cigarette. I get smoke right in my eyes. Now, if you smoke, you know that shit hurts, so I close my eyes and rub them. When I look up, Brandon is standing about 2 feet away from me, arms at his sides, saying nothing, still facing away from me. Now this is when some inner alarm bells started going off. I thought maybe I imagined it. Maybe I picked it up off of like a story later on and applied it to what happened here. But I swear that he smelled like shit. Like old blood mixed in a bucket with bog water. Feeling really freaked out, I take a step back and I turn over my shoulder. I say, "Jim Bob, he's over here." I turned back, and then I immediately bolted out of that clearing. As soon as that thing turned around, it did not have an effing face. I wish I could describe it, but it was just like a living Picasso painting. His features were all whirled around his face without correct sizing or spacing. I've never ran so effing hard in my life. I quickly get to the clearing, screaming Jim Bob's name. As I get to the clearing, he enters on the other side, and I plow into him hard. We fell over just like a comedy movie. He groans, asking, "Dude, what the hell? What are you doing?" I ignore him. I scramble to my feet. I hoist him up by his hood. Thanks, adrenaline. And I keep running. Jim Bob is smart, so it wasn't long before I heard his feet gain up behind me. We eventually get out of the woods, hands on our knees, gasping for air. He starts asking a bunch of questions, and I tell him exactly what I saw. He immediately calls bullshit. He says, he was just screwing with us. Prove it. I say, I'm not going to prove anything. I started yelling due to fear or anger or I don't know what. And then we hear, "What are you guys yelling about? Why is everybody so mad?" Brandon comes walking down from where the house is. Jim Bob says, he's saying that you were some kind of monster or something, and you scared him out in the woods. There's this super cliche moment of silence that passes, as Brandon looks at his brother and says, "I never left the house. I came back after I got my jacket, and I couldn't find you guys." Jim Bob looks between us, and his brother walks off inside. I quickly try to just not look Brandon in the face as I push him inside. I find Jim Bob talking to his mother, getting very white-faced. Apparently his mother's story corroborated with his brother's. He came in to get his jacket. Then they talked for a while, and he went back outside, and then came back in a few minutes later when we had walked off into the woods without him. So who the hell did we walk into the woods with? And what the hell did we see out there? I have no clue what exactly happened. All I know is I'll never forget that thing's face. I wish I could write it all fancy like some other really good stories out there, but this is all I can come up with. I'm not BSing you. I'm not very good at telling stories. This is just what happened. So what did you think of those encounters? What do you think they saw at the camp in Russia? What do you think happened to the guy in Arizona with the bright light? What happened with the 2 guys who were waiting for their friend to come back, and it turned out it wasn't their friend? What about the creature in the woods? If you have any ideas, let me know down in the comments. If you have an encounter of your own, as always, you can send it to me at the email down below. And if you would like to support the channel a little bit further, there's a link to a PayPal and a Patreon down there as well. And super thanks and memberships here on YouTube. And if I sound a little bit different on this episode or this outro in specific, it's because I can't open my mouth as much as I would like to, because I am dealing with cavity pain right now. I'm waiting to go to the dentist and it's taking forever. So lots of Tylenol, and yeah, we're hoping for the best. So with that, I hope you enjoyed the video either way, and I hope you'll tune in for the next one. Thank you for pulling up a stump. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you on Friday.